Hello everybody and welcome to another Destiny build video. Today I got a build for you that is going to allow you to burn everything while continuously healing yourself through restoration, having Radiant and Hellion. It's pretty insane, so without further ado, let me show you how it is. So as you can see, this build is absolutely insane. Restoration and Radiant and even Hellion stays up forever. It allows you to just continuously heal, continuously deal more damage, and also continuously Scorch and Ignite. It's absolutely insane. Shreds enemies like crazy. It is phenomenal. So let me show you here how you're going to make it. We're going to start over here with our exotic armor, which is going to be the Dawn Chorus. Dawn Chorus is going to make it so that our Daybreak projectiles will deal more damage and scorch targets on impact. This next part, though, is the main part of this whole thing. Your Scorch is improved and you gain a small amount of melee energy when your Scorch damages a target. This is going to make your Scorch do 200% more damage, and it's going to give you 5% melee energy on every Scorch tick. It is literally that insane. So for our stats, we're going to just go ahead and have a high grenade, melee, and class, but we're also going to want to have our melee stat very high as well. Now, melee is going to be a great option because obviously we're going to be using a lot of powered melees. Grenade is great because we're going to be getting a ton of healing grenades. Class is great because that's what helps us keep our Hellion up. And weapons obviously is great because it's going to allow our exotic weapon, which I will show in just a second, and that you can kind of see right there, deal more damage so that you can take enemies out faster. So that would be the 4 stats you would want the most. Obviously, our weapon is going to be Devil's Ruin, which final blows will create fire sprites. Picking up a fire sprite is going to give us a solar laser. Those solar lasers will scorch targets on a hit and ignite them when defeated. So that's going to chain really well with our subclass here, which is going to be Dawnblade. And with Dawnblade, we're going to use Daybreak. Daybreak obviously pairs with Dawn Chorus. Now, obviously, it's not exactly the greatest super in the game, so if you want to put on Well of Radiance, especially if you're doing a harder thing, you can absolutely go and do that. Like I said, we are just using the Daybreak, or the Dawn Chorus, I should say, for our Scorch, but obviously you can swap this to another super if you don't care about proccing Daybreak's bonuses with it. And obviously you can use Song of Flame as well if you want, but obviously I would probably just recommend sticking with Well of Radiance for harder end stuff, and Daybreak if you want to use it with the exotic helmet. So other than that, for our supers, we're going to move over here to our class abilities. You're probably going to want to have on Phoenix Dive. Now, you can go ahead and use Healing or Empowering Rift. Now, the Rifts are going to be fine, but Phoenix Dive is going to give us an instant amount of healing when we land, thanks to Cure. Phoenix Dive also has a shorter cooldown, which is nice, going to help us get our Hellion back a little quicker. For your jump, obviously go ahead and put whatever you're comfortable with. For your melee, you're going to want Incinerator Snap or even Celestial Fire. This is kind of one of those things where it just depends what you're comfortable with. I would actually probably recommend Celestial Fire. I like that one more if I'm being honest with you. You got further range and probably accuracy if we're being honest. But you can use Incinerator Snap. It is up to personal preference because both of them will scorch targets. So after your solar melee, like I said, go ahead and use whichever one you want. For your grenade, you're going to want the Healing Grenade. Healing Grenade is obviously the only choice here because it's going to give us restoration and cure on a pickup. And that's how we're going to get restoration for this build, because thanks to Touch of Flame, we're going to have our healing grenades improve the strength of cure and restoration effects. So this is going to make it so that our restoration is better and our cure gives us more health on the initial pickup. So this is going to be pretty nice. And we're going to want to pair that with Hellion. We're going to get a lot of Hellion thanks to Phoenix Dive and or your Rifts if you put them on. And Hellion will also go ahead and scorch targets it hits. So it is pretty sweet. Now to start with our fragments, you're going to want Solace. This is going to make Radiant and Restoration effects have an increased duration. You can get them up to 15 seconds. For Empyrean, which is going to be our second fragment, it's going to allow our solar weapons and ability final blows to extend the duration of Restoration and Radiant. Then we're going to want Ember of Torches. This is going to allow our powered melee attacks, Celestial Fire or Incinerator Snap, give us and nearby allies Radiant. This is perfect because this is the only way we're going to be able to get Radiant. And Ember of Singeing is going to be that our class ability is going to recharge faster when we scorch targets. Now, obviously, we're going to be scorching targets thanks to Hellion, which comes from Phoenix Dive. When we Phoenix Dive, that gives us Hellion. Hellion scorches enemies. We're going to get Singeing proccing, which gives us back Phoenix Dive. Phoenix Dive gives us Hellion, and then just goes on in a cycle. Now for your armor mods, we're going to start here with the helmet. You're going to want a harmonic siphon. Since Devil's Ruin is going to be our main weapon, obviously this is going to help. Up next, you're going to want hands on. I realized I had ashes to assets on, but that obviously doesn't work because ashes to assets is for grenade kills, and we're not using grenade kills or a grenade that gets kills. So you can switch that to whatever you want. You can also switch hands on to whatever you want, but I like a hands on and maybe a special ammo finder. That's kind of my thing I like there. So that is what you can do with that. Or a heavy ammo finder or dynamo. It is up to you, honestly, whatever is your favorite choice. So after that is going to be the gauntlets. We're going to go ahead and put on impact induction. We're going to have heavy handed, and we're also going to have focusing strike. This is going to make it so that our powered melee attack will give us class ability energy, grenade cooldown energy, and can also generate an orb on a final blow. And for the other two, obviously hits. So this is going to make it so that way we can get back our other stuff a little quicker and obviously get some orbs of power. Now for our chest piece, we're going to want to go ahead and put on any resistances that suits the activity you're doing. So if you're playing something that does a lot of void and arc damage, you can throw those on. Next is going to be our leg armor. For our leg armor, you're going to want to start with a better already. This is going to make it so that when we get an orb of power, it'll start our health regeneration. Innervation is also going to be our great one, and invigoration. We're going to pick up an orb and we're going to get a little bit of grenade and melee energy back as well to help us get back our healing grenade and obviously our powered melee as well. Same principle here on the class. We're going to put on a bomber and an outreach. This is going to make us that when we use Phoenix Dive or a Rift, it's going to obviously give us back some energy for our melee and grenade. And we're going to pair that with Reaper, which is going to make it so that when we use our class ability, aka Phoenix Dive or a Rift, it's going to allow our next weapon kill to spawn an orb of power. Obviously, that plays into our leg mods and everything of that sort. So for the artifact, you clearly do not need any artifact mod. This build will work perfectly fine without it. As you can see though, there are going to be some that are pretty good choices. Anything that will benefit, even on future artifacts, anything that will benefit solar stuff like this one, for example, Fever and Chill. Rapid precision hits with solar weapons grant Radiant. Elemental Benevolence, granting allies an elemental buff, which we're going to do with Radiant and Restoration. Gives class ability energy. We also got another one such as Refresh Threads, which picking up an elemental pickup, thanks to Devil's Room, we're getting a lot of fire sprites, will give us energy to our least charged ability. That's pretty nice. That's a good one to have with this one. We're also going to have Elemental Coalescence. This is going to make so that defeating targets has a chance to create an elemental pickup matching our equipped super. That's going to be a fire sprite, and obviously picking up a fire sprite is going to give us a supercharged blast to Devil's Ruin. Radiant Shrapnel is one of the best ones you can have. Dealing sustained weapon damage while radiant or defeating a scorched target will lob like this giant solar projectile that will deal damage in Scorch as well. That's a great one to have. Shield Crush is also very good to have. This is going to make it so that when you're radiant, which we obviously will be, your grenade will recharge faster. Obviously it doesn't deal damage, but you're going to get some increased recharge on your healing grenade. Elemental Overdrive is also very good here. Picking up an elemental pickup will grant increased damage to weapons of the same element. So that is kind of the idea of the mods you're going to want. The ones that will buff Radiant, Restoration, Cure, also things like solar weapons, doing things on solar, Scorches, Ignitions, that's the ones you want. Now here on the last row, you can only usually have two. So on this last row, you're going to want to have probably Elemental Overdrive, which is going to be your first one. This is obviously great. And then also Radiant Shrapnel. The only problem with Shield Crush is it's going to give us back our grenade recharge. But as long as we're doing everything right, we should really never run out of Restoration, which is why we shouldn't need Shield Crush too badly. That's why I would recommend Radiant Shrapnel and Elemental Overdrive to give us back, of course, some more bonus damage and obviously to give us more Scorch. So that would be my two suggestions here in the end. Yet again, Artifact is not essential to this build. You can use this in the future, even with different mods. And obviously, seasons that benefit solar weapons and solar subclass is going to be even better. So that is going to be everything about this build. Obviously, with the fragments and everything, all it requires is getting more kills with solar weapons. and or abilities, and it's going to extend your restoration from your grenade, your radiant from your powered melee hits, and Hellion every time you use your class ability. Obviously that one you just have to use your class ability again to reset the timer. And obviously you're going to be getting so much solar, Scorch, and ignitions thanks to Devil's Ruin, and also just everything else about the build. It's so much fun to play with. It can get you through some really tough activities. This Lost Sector that I did, I would actually set myself at exactly 25 power level under the power level of the activity, and it did just fine. I didn't die once. It was super easy to go through. It was fantastic. So with all that being said, that's the end of the build video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this build. And while you're down there, if you like this video, why not hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share, all that good jazz, because it tells me you want to see more build videos. So with all of that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, I will see you around the tower.